Hello, welcome to the James Cooley Show. It's your life. I'm your host, Dr. James J.C. Cooley. And wow, we got an absolutely fantastic show coming your way today. This topic, I think everybody needs to have an understanding about the topic that we're going to talk about because it's so important. It's so important in our lives, and things occur where even doing a challenge or problem that we can still help others. I'm not going to give it the title away right now because that's Michelle's job. But I want everybody to tune in, whichever platform that you're watching us on. All you have to do is just go to the comments, ask any questions that you might have, or pick up the phone and dial 1-888-344-1170. Michelle, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. I was talking to the guests before the show. This is such an important topic. I don't know what to say, but this is a very important topic. And we want to not only educate the audience, but also, dispel any myths regarding this topic. But also, I'm just going to say the title is called The Gift of Life and Second Chances. And this is truly a gift of life and second chances for the recipients. And we're just so honored to have this guest back on our show. Both of these guests have been on our show before in different capacities, but they share something today on the show, and they want to let the world know about it. So I'm really honored to have both of them on the show.
Well, what I want to do is start the radio, television, live streaming, all the platforms at the same time. So we're going to do that in 15 seconds. So.
Pillow.com and use the promo code San Diego or call 800-310-2458. Hit it, girls.
For the best night's sleep in the whole wide world, visit mypillow.com.
It's Your Life is sponsored by James J.C. Cooley.
Dr. James J.C. Cooley. The James Cooley Show. It's your life.
Hello, I'm Dr. James J.C. Cooley. Welcome to It's Your Life with Dr. James Cooley. And I tell you, we got an absolutely fantastic show coming your way today. And so I tell you, we want audience participation. You can do it a couple of ways. We're on 65 live streaming platforms. Just go to the platform that you're watching us on, ask any questions that you might have. That's including E360 TV, Transfer TV, YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, etc. Or pick up the phone and dial 1-888-344-1170. Todd, how you doing today, Todd?
I'm always good, James. How are you and Michelle?
Well, we're doing just fine, man. We got this serious topic that we're going to talk about today, and I believe that the whole world need to have an understanding of this and need to kind of get the red dot on their driving license. Red dot meaning supporting. Even when we're not here, we still supporting and saving lives. So I am so excited about the show. I'm excited about the guest that's here, and just want to get it started. So, Dr. Michelle Cooley, how are you doing?
Doing good. And yeah, I do want to get this started, and let's go with it. And this is a very important topic.
Well, Michelle, can you do the honors of introducing the title of the show, the purpose of the show, and introduce these two absolutely fantastic guests?
Yes, the title of today's show is Gift of Life and Second Chances. We're having a sit-down discussion with Bobby Howard. He's the director of Multicultural Donation Education Program at LifeLink of Georgia. And we also have Terry Sue Parker. She is a philanthropist and a donor spouse. And we're going to talk about the life-saving impact of organ and tissue donation, the process and importance of becoming a donor, and dispelling any myths about organ and tissue donation. Bobby Howard, he's a native of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. He was an active youth engaged in various sports programs from football to hockey and was a star athlete in each. He had an insatiable love for sports. Though it would be football that would not only fuel his passion, but also open the door for him to receive a full football scholarship to Indiana University, where he studied business administration. 1994, his life changed forever. He suffered from severe kidney disease that will alter the trajectory of his life. The onset of his illness was seemingly contrary to any positive outcome. He was fortunate and received a life-giving kidney transplant. Since then, he has allowed his life-giving experience to manifest into one that is life-changing. He has dedicated his life to helping others who face life-threatening health challenges by leading collaborative efforts for LifeLink of Georgia with local, national coalitions and community partners. Terry Sue Parker. Wow, she began her career of community service in Lincoln City, Oregon. She's raised two daughters and hosts a local TV show called Wake Up Lincoln City. In 1977, she was Mrs. Lincoln City, Mrs. Physical Fitness, Mrs. Congeniality, and Mrs. Community Service. After marrying her husband, Dr. Bruce Parker, and moving to Temecula, she has found her place making a difference in community service. Terry Sue, she has opened her heart and her home to a place called Operation Temecula Food Drive, which is now called Good Samaritan Community Food Pantry. She's serving the isolated seniors and families at risk, and she wanted them to experience things such as a good holiday season. And her message is live, love, and give. So please welcome to the show both Bobby Howard and Terry Sue Parker. Good morning. Good morning, both.
Good morning.
Hello, how are
Is it
you?
morning?
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Good afternoon. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
How are you, Bobby?
Well,
I'm good. How are you?
well, we want to start first. So, Bobby, the title of the show is called The Gift of Life and Second Chances. What does this actually mean to you?
When you say gift of life, what that means to me, we're talking about organ, eye, and tissue donation. It's something that, as you read in my short bio, that saved my life almost 30 years ago. And it's also something that I think that we need to have more discussion, more family discussions, more discussions with our friends and our loved ones. Because when you have that opportunity to give life to someone else, I don't think there's any other, that's the greatest gift that you can give someone is the gift of life. And so when you say gift of life to me, it saved my life. And that's why I'm here today.
Hey, Bobby, can you tell our audience a little bit more about you, where you were raised, where you grew up,
Sure.
football, all that, and what led you to being so passionate about what you're doing right now?
Well, and thank you for that question, James. I'm originally from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I am the youngest of 11. And unfortunately, both my parents died and passed away at a very early age. The very interesting thing about growing up is that my mother was a dialysis patient, and she received a kidney transplant in 1977. And furthermore, one of the things that I was very involved in athletics and sports, and there was no sport that I didn't try to do growing up. Went to Indiana University on a full football scholarship. Where I finished there, I was drafted by the Philadelphia Eagles and subsequently played for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Green Bay Packers. Shortly after getting out of the league due to some knee injuries, I developed a headache that was out of this world. On one day, August the 10th of 1993, my blood pressure was 267 over 130. And I didn't know what all that meant. And, luckily for me, I was in the care of a nurse that I didn't even know. And fortunately, I got to the hospital and they shared with me about all the aspects of kidney failure. And I told myself, I had those symptoms, but being an athlete, we're taught to deal with pain and you keep it moving. And once I found out what I was dealing with, the unfortunate part of that is I thought I could get a transplant the very next day and didn't realize that there was a waiting list. There was subsequently so many people across this country who were in the same boat that I was in, but not just for kidneys, but for heart transplant, liver transplants, lung transplants, and so forth. So being on dialysis, that's the part that really changed my life, because what I did was went back in my early childhood and remembered my mother on dialysis. Even though things had changed over time, but it taught me and it made me be humbled as a human being. One thing about athletics and getting to that professional level is that we become very selfish. We become very egotistical. That was me. All those things that you read, that was who I was. But going through this whole process, it changed me as a human being. It changed me as a person because it made me realize that I was no better than the next person sitting next to me who was in the same boat that I was in. So it reformed my whole thought process on who I wanted to be, what I wanted to be, and how I wanted to be, how I wanted to leave a legacy behind for my family and friends. And once I received my transplant, I had made a vow to myself and I had a prayer one day. I said, Lord, if you ever bless me, and if there's anyone out there who loves you enough and loves me enough to say yes to organ and tissue donation and give me one of their kidneys, I will be the best human being and I will be the person that I was meant to be. And I got my transplant, and here I am today, almost 30 years later, educating the community about how important organ and tissue donation is, with a specialty in the African American community to truly understand health issues overall, not just about donation, but about health issues to better the community, to better equip the community, but ultimately sharing that when life is over, we have a gift. We have a gift that we could give to someone, and we will never know that person. But I do know, being one of those ones who receive, that it's a gift that I cherish for the rest of my life. I take care of it, and that's what most people do. So I spend the majority of my time talking to people, educating people, and working with individuals to share how important life is. Because I think if we understand how important life is, there are some greater things that we could do with our life. And organ and tissue donation just happened to be one of those.
Knowing how important life is. Again, you mentioned, especially in the African American community, we lack understanding a lot. That's the importance of giving, because many times I think we are selfish ourselves and like, oh, no, none of this is never going to happen to me, or whatever that is. But Michelle and I are both organ. Whenever God take us away, we already there, because it is so important to us. And I think that we need to educate everybody that comes in touch, because your story, you still here 30 years later, and you still going out there and I wouldn't say preaching, but you teaching. You teaching everybody why it's so important to be a organ donor. And I commend you, Bobby. We've been doing this show until the last 5 years. You're American, and you always come and educate our audience and teaches us. And I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to take a station break, but we're going to come back. Regardless of which platform you're watching us on, if you want to be part of the conversation, all you have to do is go to the comments, ask any question that you might have, or pick up that phone and dial 1-888-344-1170. Again, that's 1-888-344-1170. It's your life, and we'll see you shortly after the break.
There's more stories of greatness to help you overcome adversity coming up on It's Your Life with James Cooley.
A Black Man's Point of View is the newest Amazon.com #1 release and best.
Really get a chance to know who you are. And once you know who you are, You truly know who you are? Love who you are. Love who you are. You're a masterpiece. Love who you are. Love who you were born to be. Love me some me. That's what I'm talking about. When you leave high school, you gotta know today or tomorrow, or hopefully today, what your plans are. Hopefully, there is no bad decision unless there is no plan. Create, collaborate, commit with confidence. Commit with what? Commit with what? In everything that you do. Dr. James J.C. Cooley. The James Cooley Show. It's your life.
At 8 Over Yet by James J.C. Cooley, available on Amazon and everywhere books are sold.
Yeah. Dr. James J.C. Cooley.
Hello, welcome back to the James Cooley Show. It's your life, and I tell you, we're getting educated. We got two absolutely fantastic guests that's on right now. But first of all, we're talking about organ donations or kidneys, all type of things. I believe that we have to stay hydrated, mostly with water. But sometimes I use this product called Gatorade to stay hydrated, and you put a little water in it. And I say we should stay hydrated all the time. So try some Gatorade sometimes. I mean, just you can mix it with a little water, but it's
That's definitely those mess away.
Absolutely delicious.
So definitely take care of the body. Bobby, question. Who can be an organ donor, and how does an individual register to become an organ or tissue donor?
Anyone can be an organ or tissue donor. It's very simple. When you go to receive your driver's license or renew your driver's license in most states across the country, you just have to say yes when that question is asked of you. Now, that's one way. Another way, sometimes people believe because you didn't do it doesn't mean you can be a donor. Even if you haven't made your decision known when you go to renew your driver's license or receive a driver's license, in the event of your passing and you are medically healthy or suitable enough to be an organ or tissue donor, that decision falls on the family or the legal next of kin. So the legal next of kin has the power to determine if you would be an organ and tissue donor, even if you haven't signed up at all. And so that's why we encourage people, even if you don't sign up, have the discussion with your family. Talk to your family and loved one. Let them know what your decision is. Because when you're in that time and someone passed away, that's a very difficult time. And it makes it a lot easier when someone has made their decision, they shared it with their family and friends. So it's not as strenuous or stressful on that immediate next of kin. So those are the two ways you can be an organ or tissue donor.
Bobby, you described, you received an organ. There's so many people on the waiting list for different types of organs or tissues. What impact does organ and tissue donation have on the waiting list for transplants? Like, can you kind of educate us on that?
Sure. The impact on the donation, on the transplant waiting list, and quite honestly, we haven't made an impact because we could do, let's say, 10,000 organ transplant in 1 year. The next year, we still got 10,000 people who are diagnosed and are placed right back on that list. And so when you think about it in that sense, we just need more people to register their decision, because if you really think about it, there's enough organs to go around. We just don't have enough organ donors.
Wow. So I know you mentioned that even if someone did not sign up to be an organ or tissue donor, and let's say that their family can make that decision for them, um, has it ever come situations where some of the family members don't agree and some agree? Do you know what the process is regarding that, or it just goes to the a legal aspect? And I know donation is time sensitive as well.
You're absolutely correct. You do have those situations where you have some family members who say yes, some family members who say no. That's the importance of someone who works with me, that department who works with families in that sense. They are trained and skilled to really work with families. And hopefully it doesn't have to get to that standpoint where you have to be legal involved. But ultimately, that decision falls to the legal next of kin. So if the legal next of kin, which may be, let's say, in your parents, and there's only one child living, that child who's living is the legal next of kin if you only have one parent living. So if they say yes and sign the proper documents and work with the organization, then that donation will take place regardless of what the other family members state. But our role is not to separate families. Our role is to keep families together. So those people and individuals who do that work are very highly skilled and trained to work with those families. So you come to some kind of a similar agreement that everyone's on the same page. It just may take a little bit longer to get to that point, but that's what our role is. We don't want to divide families. We want to keep families together. And we do know that sometimes these type of decisions can tear family apart because you have some family members who believe in it, some family members who don't. So how do you get them to that point where everyone's on the same page? And then on the other side of that, Michelle, is that there have been situations where we've just walked away and said, no, your family is more important than us receiving this donation, even though there are people who need it. But we've got to keep that family together than separate them.
Wow. Tell us a little bit more. I know you're the director of LifeLink of Georgia. Can you tell us more about what this organization does? I think I kind of have a little bit, but I'm sure there's so much more that you guys do.
Yes, LifeLink of Georgia, we are considered an organ procurement organization. There are 56 organizations across the country who do the same type of work. So all organizations are designated a particular service area that they have to work in. And some states have more than one. And so in those situations, our role is to educate community about the importance of organ and tissue donors. Our role is to recover all healthy organs and tissue for transplantation. So we work very closely with the community, and we have worked very closely with hospitals because we get the first call on any death that occurs. So that's the first phone call was made to an organization like LifeLink and the organizations across the country who do the same type of work. And we work with medical examiners, we work with sheriff departments, you name the entities that may or may not be involved that are state or county or city run. We have working with them to make sure that we are following all the guidelines and steps that we should. We also work with them to make sure that we are almost sort of like a team, because sometimes, unfortunately, you have people who are murdered, but they can be organ donors. But we have to work with the medical examiner because there's an investigation that goes on. So sometimes we can't have permission to proceed. So we have to have those kind of relationships with other community and county entities to make sure that we're following the guidelines, that we're not overstepping any boundaries that there may be. So that's what these organizations' goal is that we want to recover healthy, transplantable organs to give to people who are in desperate need of life-saving organ and tissue transplantation.
Bobby, what type of organs can be donated? Of course, everyone knows about kidney donations. I think there's a myth that a person has to be deceased in order to donate an organ or maybe some type of tissue donation. Can you kind of just summarize what can be donated and that you can still be a functional human being when you even donate?
Sure. When you talk about, there's two types of donation. You have living donation, when someone who is living, and as you just stated, you can donate one of your kidneys to another individual, and you can be okay. Your life won't be affected. You can continue to move on. And there's also, you can do part of your liver as well. Those are two organs that can be living donation. Now, when it comes to deceased donation, where an individual has passed away, the organs can be donated are kidneys, heart, lung, liver, pancreas, and small intestines. Those are all the organs that can be donated and transplanted into another individual. Now, if you notice, I didn't put them all together because we separate them. Because when you talk about organ donation, in most cases, that person has to be pronounced brain dead by physicians in the hospital to proceed with organ donation. When you talk about tissue donation, you're talking about deceased cardiac death, where the heart has stopped, there's no blood function, there's no blood flow in the body. Now that's where tissue donation plays a major role. When I talk about tissue, I'm talking about the heart can be recovered, but only using the valves off the heart. You have skin, bone, ligaments, tendons, all those things fall under the tissue category. Then, of course, you have eyes for cornea transplantation that can be used as well. So we really break those up because not one department does everything. You have your organ recovery department, you have your tissue department. Then we work very closely with our local eye bank. And I think most organizations work with their local eye bank to do the eye recovery as well.
Wow, that is so much great information that our viewers and our listeners need to know. And, we're going to take a station break. We're going to come back. We're going to pick it up. But we're going to bring Terry Sue on directly after the break. And then we're going to bring Bobby back. And, I tell you, if you want to be part of this conversation that we have, and all you have to do is just go to the platform that you're watching us on. Ask any questions that you might have. I promise you, we'll get you an answer. It's your life, and we'll see you shortly after the break.
There's more stories of greatness to help you overcome adversity coming up on It's Your Life with James *𝐂𝐍𝐶𝐄𝐓.
Country Boy, City Boy, a journey that ain't over yet. The true life coming of age story by James J.C. Cooley, using humor, wit, and engaging story.
James J.C. Cooley from the United States of America, and I am here to just say, first of all, I'm so happy and honored to be in the Coffee Book 2023, Unified Brain Z and the other organizations. Thank you so much for giving me an opportunity to be a part of this collection.
On Amazon or wherever books are sold.
Dr. James J.C. Cooley. The James Cooley Show.
Hello, welcome back to James Cooley Show. It's your life, and just chatting with Bobby and all that great information that he just shared. I mean, it's invaluable, and I think we all need to understand. We all need to know that even when we're not here, we can still save lives, or even while we are here, we can still help save lives. There's so much great information that Bobby just shared. And Bobby, I love you, brother. You already know that. Well, I want to get some type of perception from my producer here. Hey, Todd, what you think about the show so far?
Very informative. I'm learning a lot, and I've always known it's so important to donate tissue and organs, and I remember being worried because for a long time it was just a little sticker, a little tiny dot that you put on your license, and then eventually they made it digital so it's on there permanently. But I was always worried my sticker would fall off or something. But I know it's such an amazing thing for the people that can donate, and like you said, even though we might leave this earth, we can leave life behind.
And just like Bobby was saying, it's not a shortage of organs, it's a shortage of donors that's out there, and we have to really get that message out there, because again, you never know what could happen or how you can contribute. So Bobby, great information. I want to bring this other guest on, and it's a tough one for me because I love her so much, her and her husband. And Bruce is not with us today. That's just so painful. But great friend. She's doing so many things for the community, nonprofit. I mean, just love people, love everybody. I mean, just a loving heart. So, and I am so happy that she decided to join us today. And Terry Sue, how are you doing? How you doing? I know that's a tough question.
Good as long as I'm not talking now. I was enjoying listening to Bobby, and I did have to get up a few times and go get some fresh air, but it's hot out there, so I came back in and said, this is where I'm supposed to be today. So on a totally different spectrum than what I'm usually here for. It's in memory of my husband's passing, and realizing he was a donor and having to make a quick decision, and realizing that and getting the call that takes an hour, by the way, on the phone, like the day they pass. There is a million questions, and you need to know them. You need to know those questions, because it was an hour, right? About Bobby, it's about an hour interview on just that person. So you need to know your family member and all the answers to the questions so they can move forward to save another life.
Absolutely correct. There's those questions.
It's an hour.
Yes, they get real deep into medical social history. So knowing your loved one to the best of your ability really helps the process.
It really did. And I did have my sister here, and my daughter was here, and it was pretty personal, but I was glad they were here for support, because it kind of pushes you towards the healing. It was step one. It really was. And to think that his last act, the biggest donation, because we talk about it so much with Good Samaritan, was his life, as well as my mom at 40. I lost her at 40, and I always respected her so much, and I always knew she was living on because through her eyes. And I swear I've run into her a few times, but the thought of, I think that's what legacy means. I mean, it's not stuff. It's not what you left behind. It was giving parts of yourself so others can live on. 73 others. And that shocks people, because you think if you're sick, or maybe you're diabetic, or maybe you weren't that healthy, or you were healthy. There's so many organs and tissues. I had no idea that people need to be educated about how many people one person can help, just like with blood donation. I was shocked, and knew we made the right decision. Well, he actually made the decision. And I think I spoke of my mom only being 40, and she passed of a brain aneurysm. So most people, when they leave me in life, it's sudden, as was Dr. Bruce. He had a massive stroke, brain bleed, which was just sudden. It happened all at once on a Sunday. But knowing what their wishes are, being connected, the organization that he was through, where he was signed up, they called me. So I was hello, and that was a big call, but it was called One Legacy. I don't know if you're familiar with them here in California. And man, they send like a letter and a support letter and a grieving group letter when I got this, it was a certificate of appreciation. I'm like, oh, thank God it was for something that we did with Good Samaritan or something and it wasn't. It was in appreciation of Dr. Bruce donating tissues and organs, and it was the most important recognition I think that he could have gotten, and I'm sure he can see it from above. But the most important donation, after all the donations we've been talking about since we started Good Samaritan, we always talked about donations, was the gift of life. And those 73 people that were just waiting was absolutely worth sitting here and talking about today.
So 73 organs or tissues, and that's going to help so many people out. And I believe that allows Bruce, my friend, legacy to live on. And knowing that it happens so many people. Can you tell our viewers and our listeners, and I already know Dr. Bruce, I mean, great man. I mean, I want them to know that he is a great man, was a great man. Can you talk a little bit about that? Are you okay with doing that?
Yes, because I haven't. This is my preempt to a celebration of life that we're going to have, but not until I'm ready. And end of life, life goes on. Like with a minute after, like I just remember that cars were passing by. I was like, how can this be? But and when it cools off outside, we'll have a gathering of his friends. But he was a chiropractor, retired chiropractor by trade, and I'm learning so much more about him as I go through paperwork right now. And the guys that he went to Palmer College, graduated, had 13 clinics in Temecula and Mary. I knew that he was a chiropractor, but I didn't know that he'd started so many. I have his last article on his computer that he wrote, and it told me more about him than I knew. It was a questionnaire kind of from he was a coach now. So he was coaching other chiropractors how to run their business. He was the co-founder of Good Samaritan. So he kind of was the business part. That was upstairs where I'm pointing, and I'm down here doing the physical part. But now it forced me into becoming the business part for his business, our business, the house, for everything. It's just Otis and I. So he actually, I didn't know, he said to me, we talked about it openly a lot. And he was so respectful that I talked about my mom being a donor, that he literally, I didn't force him into it, but he changed. I was surprised when I saw the red dot on his renewal of his license. And it was because of talking about it. It was the way that I respected my mom for being a donor and how many people that she helped. And that I felt somebody was seeing through her eyes that was blind. I could not see. So if I was a part of that, that's great. But he was misunderstood a lot, I think, because he was more the businessman, get down to business. It's got to be business. And that's when he goes, let's get this 501c3 going because we can help more people. You got to have a structure. You got to have a business. And I was like, no, I don't want to make it a business. I don't want to make money. I just want to help people. But he made me realize, and I'm realizing now more every day, how important the functioning part and the business part of any organization is. And delegation. And I get it. I get it, Bruce. And I'm learning so much from his writings. Going up into his office, opening that door is tough still, but little by little I'm bringing, as you can see, there's kind of a mess. There's little, a file at a time is what I'm calling it. But he literally had the greatest sense of humor and the biggest heart of anyone was the biggest support of me when he met me. I was a hot mess. So that was 11 years ago. And together, I took care of him. He took care of me. And then we came together and became a blended family. And my daughters, for one, are, I just found out, I told Michelle that I'm having a conversation. My daughter said, Mom, I'm the one that's pregnant with twins. We have a red dot on our license. And she goes, and so does Danny, her fiance. I did not know that about my own child who was giving birth to twins in 5 weeks, that she was an organ donor. And that is a tough conversation. But they were very close to Dr. Bruce. If they had a question or something, they called him Dr. Dad. And he also had a daughter named
Hold that thought. We got to take a station break, but I want to pick it back up with Dr.
See,
Dad.
I told you I could keep talking. It's helping. It's helping.
Want to pick it up with Dr. Dad. I tell you,
Dr. Dad.
If you want to be part of this great conversation, all you have to do is go to the platform that you're watching us on. Or pick up the phone and dial 1-888-344-1170. Ask for Toddy. Toddy will pick it up and he'll patch it through. It's your life. We'll be back with more of Terry Sue and Bobby Howard. We'll see you shortly after the break.
There's more stories of greatness to help you overcome adversity coming up on It's Your Life with James Cooley.
Number one, don't stop till the job is done. You know it starts with a try. Gotta win, gotta spread your wings, gotta fly. Lift up your head. Don't stop till it's down for the bed. No matter how hard it seems, gotta keep going, plus gotta keep that dream. Be the best you can be. Don't get your victory. Throw your hands up in the sky. Gotta be number one when you win, and you will see that there's a story, man. Now follow the plan. Gotta raise up, be a leader, make a change. It's time for you now. Take a stand.
Encourage and enlighten our next generation of leaders and heroes. Get your copy of Country Boy, City Boy, A Journey That Ain't Over Yet by James J.C. Cooley, available on Amazon and everywhere books are sold.
Hello, welcome back to the James Cooley Show. It's Your Life, and I tell you, this has been so wonderful. The education that Bobby has been giving us, and the wonderful stories that Terry Sue and with my friend that we know him, and that she's sharing moments. It's making me feel pretty good because a man of honor that put the dot on this driving license, and not knowing we all need to put the dot on the driving license because we don't know how we can help, or we don't even have to think about that initially. But if it happens, it is. And Terry Sue, I want to say I commend you for being so strong come on the show, share this. Because when I was talking to you yesterday, you did not even know that we were having this type of show today. And once me and you talk about 30, 40 minutes, I say, hey, you got to join us if you're up to it. And this is bringing so much value to our listeners and our viewers. And I just want to thank you. But I also want to pick it up with Dr. Dad again. So,
Aw. I call it a God shot because it's been a month of, I haven't really had to face it nail on because of all of the end of life decisions. But knowing your partner, knowing your family, as Bobby was saying, just pick one person to make that decision and do it, because the last thing you want to do is have an argument over someone. You want to enjoy the last moments of their life. And I was there until he took his last breath. And I knew, thank God, through communication, through love, through respect, his wishes to the color of flower to put next to his mom and him when I put him on the front porch at night and light my candle. The decision to donate, I think if you take it out of, if the thought of, some people go, oh no, I would never do that. I don't want them tearing my loved one apart. And I don't see it that way at all. And that's me. That's just me. I saw it was, oh my gosh, he's living on with those baby blue eyes. The silver fox is living on through the tissues. Through 73 people are out there because they needed something. And he made the decision on his own to be a donor. And so I'm a donor. My daughter's a donor. If you don't feel comfortable being a donor, nobody's going to be a downer on you. I think it's a very personal decision. Mm-hmm. And I think the more people that are involved, it's going to get messy. So he had that right too. He said, Terry Sue is going to be the next of kin, and you are going to be in charge of life decisions. And let me tell you, when you have to make that decision to take someone off life support and to donate their organs, you better know what their wishes are. And it's amazing what's coming out of doing that. What were you going to say, Michelle?
Oh no, I was waiting to you. I don't want you to cry. No, what I was
chills, and this is weird. This is
what I wanted to ask. What I wanted to ask Bobby is, Bobby, the donors, and the recipients, right? Do in certain situations, and I guess it's optional, do they get a chance to meet? Can you kind of go into that?
Sure, absolutely. There is the possibility that the donor family and the recipient have that opportunity to meet each other. But as I say, it's a process. So it's not going to be something that happens the next day. Mm-hmm. When a family donates, for example, in Terry Sue's case, we would have to make sure that she is mentally ready for that. Mm-hmm. So that may take years for her to be mentally ready to accept meeting someone who received that gift that her husband gave. So there's an actual process. You can exchange letters and information, but it's not directly. There's a process because you don't want to. It's still under HIPAA regulations and privacy. So we just can't tell Terry Sue, your husband's kidney went to Bobby Howard.
Mm-hmm. Right.
There's information.
Yeah, that would be.
So it's a process, but it can happen.
Okay.
There's an option. You can leave it open. That's what mine was, is at some point, would I want to? And I was like, oh, what I would give to see. But right now, absolutely would be on the floor, passed out, done. But maybe down the line.
So, Bobby, question, and Terry Sue can chime in on this about her experience. But when something like this happens, and I know you mentioned, Bobby, the previous segments that you get the organization gets notifications from the hospital. What is the process? Like, how soon will, let's say, a representative come to a family and talk about that? Is it up to the doctor in the hospital or to the representative? I mean, how do you know how much time to give that family. And again, we understand donation, it's a time sensitive thing. It really is. So can you kind of go into like, I guess the process, or maybe it's different depending?
Sure. And unfortunately, there's not a concrete answer for you because it all depends.
Yes.
Some families are ready. Some family already know that their loved one, this is the decision, and they tell the hospital, hey, my loved one is an organ tissue donor. Who do we talk to? And you have some families who don't know at all. So it's a process. So we work very closely with the healthcare team before that decision is made. When is the best time? So we call those huddles. Like there'd be, for example, when in Terry Sue's case, there was a representative from One Legacy, there was hospital staff, there were nurses, there were all these people who got together and they talked, because there's information that the doctors and nurses have that we don't have. So we have to confer and talk to make sure what's the best plan of action to move forward. So that's why it's not a 5-minute thing. It's not a 2-hour thing. It could be 5 hours down the line. It all depends, because every situation, their circumstances are different.
Terry Sue?
It was the very next day I got a phone call. It was like he passed on Sunday evening when he took his last breath. The next day, my sister showed up. It was crazy. And I answered the phone for some reason. And it was One Legacy. And I was like, well, you know, your husband was and I go, right now? Are you serious? And then I thought, oh, how rude. Then I thought, oh, no, how awesome. Okay, let's go. You don't really have the time. You just, because time sensitive and because of the organs and where he was and what parts they could use, it was immediately. And,
So
I didn't have time to process it. Thank God. I did not have time to think. It was just, okay, next step. It's just kind of how I'm living every day is, okay, the next step is to go on Michelle and James Cooley's show and talk about this, because that's where God put me today, right here.
And I'm glad he put you here. So we got a couple of minutes left before the show. What I want to ask is, Bobby, Terry Sue, Bobby, what resources are available to the donor family after it's done? And Terry Sue, in your case,
We got 30 seconds or less on
30
each
seconds.
question.
Oh, can you kind of summarize that, Bobby? What resources are available to donor families?
Sure. We have a department, and just like other organizations have a department that they work with the families who are donors, donor families, to work with them to make sure that they're getting all that they need from us as an organization. If there's any questions and different things, and if they need resources, we're able to provide them resources as well.
That's what I got, like that, and then what is it? Not an award, a certificate of thank you from them, for Bruce Allen Parker, for the support of, giving of life, and then follow-up grievance classes is sympathy, all the information that I would have had to look up, because really, I didn't do grief counseling after my mom passed. I was only 14. I will be doing grief counseling with my husband, Bruce, because after this show, I'm not there.
I tell you what, this has been so great. And I want to thank Bobby. I want to thank you so much, my friend. When I'm back in Atlanta, I will see you. Terry Sue, I will see you.
Too, if I ever get there.
I will see you in about 3 weeks.
I will be here.
I want to thank Dr. Michelle Cooley for putting together another great show. I'd like to thank
Thanks, Michelle.
Todd, my producer, who's absolutely fantastic. Most importantly, I thank our viewers and our listeners for tuning into the James Cooley Show. It's your life. Always dream big, think big, and be big at everything you do. We'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place. It's your life.
Thanks, James. Dr. James.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Bobby. Thank you, Terry Sue.
Thanks for asking me.
Your life.
Want to retire in 5 years or less? You can